Hi, I'm Rob Boyd, an English photographer from the UK. I decided to create this podcast series talking to international photographers whose work I truly love. I realised I knew nothing about these amazing people apart from their names and their stunning work. So I created a set of hopefully entertaining questions that finds out who they are and what they love.
Mate.
You too, Rob. Thanks for this. It's, fantastic to see you and have a chat.
Absolutely. So if you can start with your name and your Instagram name, that would be amazing.
Adam Boyle, and my Instagram name is Adam Boyle 711. Don't ask me why it's
Okay, is there a reason for 7-Eleven?
No, my daughter actually set it up. I don't know why she did it and why the 7-Eleven that was there. Maybe she went to a 7-Eleven earlier that day. No idea, but it's just something that means nothing to me and it's stuck. So it is what it is, I suppose.
You're probably the 711th because that's the way it goes, you know.
Yeah, I actually think she was doing it because she was at a 7-Eleven convenience store. But I don't know. I've never asked her, to be honest. I just go with the flow, Rob. Just go with the flow. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah. Have you got a website?
No, I don't. Haven't got that far or that deep into it. So, the only way that my photography is seen is through the joy of Instagram.
Okay, where do you live?
I live in Ballarat, which is in Western Victoria. So Victoria is one of the lower states of Australia. So about an hour and a half west of the capital city of Melbourne, which is where I originally hail from. So yeah, really beautiful spot, Rob. It's a nice blend of town and country. So it's a social person, and as a photographer, gives you a bit of everything out here in Ballarat.
Yeah, pretty place, I'm sure.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask where you're from originally, but I think you could still give it.
Yeah, Melbourne boy, born and bred. So, but yeah, as a single person and as a family, I've travelled and lived all around Victoria, never really strayed out of the state. But yeah, my heart always belongs back into Melbourne. So whenever I can get into Melbourne, I do, and it's just a short trip away. So yeah, Melbourne, born and bred in a place that I love, and I don't think I'll ever stray too far from Melbourne.
No, it's quite rare to actually be in a place that you love, and you're lucky enough to be in.
Yeah.
Excellent. So if I visited you, where would you take me to shoot?
Oh, anywhere and everywhere, Rob. I think that just touching on that beauty of Ballarat's location to Melbourne, Ballarat is just a short drive to anywhere. And I think as a photographer or as a tourist, the ability is to find the beauty in the everyday and the small things. So, to me, you can jump in a car or go for a walk 30 minutes in any direction and find something interesting to look at and do, whether it's just hanging in a cafe or a bar, hitting up a gallery, or the diversity of the geography from lakes and rivers to mountains to coast to street scenes is something that I think we're very fortunate in a place like Australia that, you can throw a stone in any direction and kind of hit up something that's genuinely beautiful, or something that mightn't necessarily be beautiful, but you can find the beauty in it if you look hard enough. And I think that's what photography is about. It's finding the beauty in the mundane and little things, the small details that make, life in our world such an interesting place to be fortunate to be living in.
Yeah, I love that positive attitude, and it's absolutely true.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a forced attitude, but sometimes you have to do that to be happy.
Yeah, no, that's as long as you have to work at it too much. So, what's your favourite destination in the world?
In the world, I think it's about the people. Anywhere where the people are genuine and beautiful is somewhere that you harbour back to. So, yeah, when you ask a question like that, the two places that kind of come to my mind is always Thailand, just because the people are just such beautiful, caring spirits and souls. So yeah, if I had to go back anywhere tomorrow, it would probably be there. Or the other one is for me always Mexico, just because of the climate and the environment and the culture is so interesting. So yeah, if you gave me, are you going to send me some money to jump on a plane, Rob, and go somewhere? No.
That's a good check.
Well, if you did, I'd probably I'd launch off to Mexico, I think, just because of the climate and the culture. It's a really cool place. But if it was purely about people, it would be Thailand. Yeah, such a beautiful country, but it's the people is what makes the experience at the end of the day.
And if I sent you money, where would you most like to visit in the world?
It would probably be that Mexican trip, I think, or the other one that I haven't actually done in my travels is I've never been to Europe. And that's the beauty of the friendships that you make over something like Instagram, something specifically like Lisbon, just looking at the photos of Portugal and Lisbon, of those elevated cityscapes and the light and the vibrant architecture and the textures and the colours, those bright yellow trams that are there. So that movement, the transportation, that from a photographer's perspective, that would be probably somewhere to travel Europe, but somewhere like Portugal and Lisbon would be that would be a bit of a dream. So yeah, I'm happy for you to send over that check, and I'll meet you there one day.
Yeah, we're so lucky in Europe. I mean, Dublin for me is an hour away.
Yeah.
Paris is an hour and a half. 2 hours to Seville. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, we always joke, Australians, that we're at the arse end of the world. A million miles to anywhere, and it costs you an arm and a leg, especially with the cost of diesel and air fuel and all those sorts of things. It's becoming an impossibility just to get around. But yeah, we talk about going an hour and a half, and it's to our capital city of Victoria. It's not like jumping over, going to Paris or to Dublin or anything like that. So quite envious us Australians have of you guys over there. So yeah, send the check. I'll be in Europe or Mexico or Canada or somewhere far away from Australia, just for that different experience. Would be magic at the moment.
But whenever I talk to you fellas, you're always like, oh, I drove 6 hours, just sat in the car. It's like, Jesus Christ, if we do more than 2 hours, we're stuffed.
I lived for the last 7 years in a place called Warrnambool, which is down on the far western coast of Victoria. And just for meetings for work, you would drive 4 and 5 hours back into Melbourne one way just to have a meeting for an hour, and then you would drive back. That was before COVID and Zooms and things like that. But it's just par for the course. We just get so used to driving millions and millions of miles. And again, being a photographer, that's not a bad thing, because if you got your camera in your car, it's so easy when you see something just to pull over and take a few snaps. That pisses people off no ends, that are passengers that just want to get from A to B, and you're constantly stopping to take a photo. Again, you see things in the car that you never would in the middle of nowhere, just those little magic moments that you just never see again, that you just got to take the opportunity to pull over and have a snap.
Yeah, cool. I'd be asleep after 2 hours.
Yeah, well, you don't do that when you're driving, Rob, I can tell you that.
No, not a good idea.
No, not at all.
So if you could time travel, where and when would you visit?
What a question. Probably look at that 2 ways, potentially. Maybe travel back in time to wherever I was the happiest, and then work backwards from that to figure out how I got to that point of happiness and get back there again, maybe. But I try to live life with no regrets, so there's nothing I would want to go back and really change. You just got to roll with it. Maybe if it was time travel, Rob, it would be about actually jumping forward just to some random day in the future, just to see the things that I'm doing now. What would that do in the future? Nothing special, but just to see what another normal day would be in Adam's life in 5, 10 or 20 years. Hopefully I'm not in a box in the dirt somewhere, but what does life hold tomorrow? You got to live in the now, but I think that we're all creatures of constantly trying to improve ourselves and to be happier. Are the things that you're doing today going to have an impact on changing your life in whether it be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years? I think the worst thing for me would be to stuck doing the same thing that I'm doing and not growing and evolving. So I think that curiosity in time travel would be about jumping forward just to see how I'm living, and am I happier? And if I'm not, fucking change something to make sure that I am happier and moving forward.
Yeah, I think the thing is, bro, you're right, actually. Live the day for your last. 10 years of fly by.
It is. And, life is fragile. Life is fleeting. So you got to make the most of every moment. And it's like a shark. If you don't keep moving, you die. You know, not even metaphorically, I suppose. There's nothing worse than just living the same day, the same groundhog day, day after day. So yeah, strive and reach for something a bit more in life and continue to evolve in your own joy and happiness, I think, is what everybody should be aspiring to do and to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got all deep, Rob. I didn't think I'd get deep in this podcast.
Wow, that's what I bring it out of it. So if you could photograph anyone in history, who would you shoot?
I guess it's that thing of, if you're doing portrait photography, it's someone with those wild, crazy eyes and the tangled beard and that almost supernatural aura, like, Rasputin or someone, Genghis Khan or something like that. For me, I'm a music junkie, so it would probably be, that energy and that electricity of shooting someone on stage. Like my hero growing up, probably still was Eddie Van Halen, passed away a few years ago, but just the power through his art and through music and the energy of a live performance, to me, is what music's all about, something visceral, something you actually feel. So it's to go back in and photograph someone like him or other great musicians, of just the energy and the rapport that they give off in a concert in front of hundreds of thousands of people would be pretty cool to do, I think. I think, again, it's that artistic thing of behind the scenes, they could be as miserable as all shit, but, when they get up and the curtain is drawn back and just, the energy that, musicians provide between an audience, whether it's one-on-one or 1,000 people, is just, it's a one-off experience that you can't. Well, I suppose as a musician, they're trying to recreate it every night, but I think every night is different. Every photograph is different. Every piece of painting is different. It's that moment and that energy that happens on the spot, and to capture that through a lens, I think, is a really special and unique thing to be able to do with someone like Eddie Van Halen. Would have been great.
Yeah, perfect choice. Tell me a fun fact or a story about yourself.
Oh, there's nothing interesting about me, Rob. Pretty mundane kind of guy. Fun fact or interesting, I'm one of those crazy kind of people that I feel sorry for dogs that get tied up out front of supermarkets and shops against the lamppost or a pole. So I'm that crazy kind of guy that you see that's walking into those shops, that stops and talks to dogs that are being tied up and almost has a conversation with them, a full conversation that I think the dog can understand, that I can actually understand. So yeah, I'm that crazy guy that will stop and talk to dogs tied up outside of stores.
You're the dog whisperer.
I wouldn't say I'm the whisperer. I'm that crazy guy that will talk out loud and people are going to go, what the friggin' hell's he talking to that dog like that for? But, the poor bastards are tied up. They don't want to be there, so you got to give them a bit of love back.
Yeah, I love it. So, what's your favourite word?
I think I've already dropped it in this podcast, but my vocabulary is based around swearing, unfortunately. Rob, not in an aggressive sense, but I use swear words as a term of endearment, I would say, of calling people names, but it's not having a go at them. It's a touching term of, as Australians do, of just taking the piss out of someone a little bit. But yeah, I guess my favourite phrase, that I've had some shit jobs. My staff have always joked with me of the old FFS, for fuck's sake. So when something's going wrong or something doesn't go quite right, I always go, oh, for fuck's sake, what's going on here? So people always give me a bit of crap around the old FFS. And the other word that I think isn't used enough in the world is awesomeness. That, if something's cool, it's awesomeness. And there needs to be more awesome in the world, Rob.
Yeah, no, totally agree. For fuck's sake, that's a good answer.
Yeah, I think I left one job and they made a T-shirt up and it was FFS. So, it's an inside joke, but anyone that knows Adam Boyle knows, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, love it. Teach me a new word.
And you teach you a new word.
Or saying you may not know.
The one that I will come back to, because I'm always hungry and thirsty, is hungsty. So I normally get home from work and I'm hungsty because I don't drink during the day. I'm one of those guys that just has to be forced to have a glass of water. So I always come home and say that I'm hungsty, that I'm not just hangry, but I'm hungry and thirsty. It's drained and you need something right now. So I'm hungsty.
That's amazing. I love that.
Well, you can use that, Rob. Just send me a check every time you use it.
There you go. That pay for your trip.
Well, I don't know if it'll pay to get over to Europe, but we'll give it a go.
So when did photography click for you?
I don't know that it probably has. As a kid, my parents were incredibly supportive of my artistic pursuits. I was always an artistic kid, always drew and painted. And I guess probably my passion is oil painting. So at a certain point in my late teens, that translated into photography. So at that point, it was analog or film photography. My dad supported me and helped me set up a temporary dark room in the bathroom at home. So yeah, I got to learn really early on as a kid without, doing it in school or any formal education of photographic techniques and editing techniques in a dark room. And then completely dumped photography, Rob. I think that as we, get past our teens and get into the workforce and those sorts of things, if you're not in a career that's driven by your artistic passion, you end up becoming an office worker or a bureaucrat, which is what happened to me. And the artistic element of my life just got dumped. And then for me, the re-emergence of it was through COVID. In the state where I live, we had the unenviable moniker of being the most locked down place in the world. We're just constantly in lockdowns, and I lived out in a country town during that period. So it was going stir crazy in complete social isolation from family and friends. So I just gave myself the task of every day. Was lucky enough to live on 6 or 7 acres. So I gave myself the task every day of just taking my iPhone and going and taking one photo a day and posting it on Instagram. And that probably just re-sparked that love of creativity. So out of a shit situation came something really good. COVID and social isolation forced me just to look at where I lived in a very different way of, getting the minutiae of detail of paddocks and places around my house and the animals and spiders and, textures in trees and wood and blades of grass and all those sorts of things. So that really sparked it again. And then it was about 3 years after that. So I've only been shooting on proper cameras again for the last 3 years. So when I moved to Ballarat from where I was down in Warrnambool, I purchased a camera and thought, if you did this as a kid, let's give this a shot again. So I think it was that creative eye that kind of got me back into it again. And what you probably see in my Instagram profile is that's how I see the world. So, and it feels great. It's almost like being back as a 16-year-old kid again and rediscovering the world through the lens. And, it stimulates another part of your brain that provides that balance in life. When you are a bureaucrat, to have that slingshot over to something that's really creative is, it's been great to provide that balance back in my life. So, yeah, from a 16-year-old kid to where I am now of picking up a camera. If I could go back to your previous question, Rob, if I could go back somewhere in time, it would be to slap that person that killed that creative person in me and drop the camera for decades, to not drop the camera. And who knows where I could be right now from a photographic perspective. I could be far better than what I am now. So, yeah, I can re-answer that one by going back in time and slapping a younger Adam and say, don't stop being creative, pick up your camera and keep shooting.
Yeah, fair enough, with hindsight. But the thing is with that, you're young enough, you can pick it all up a bit and rack on, that's the thing.
Yeah, and it's about the motivation and drive on it that, I don't think I'm very good at it because I probably don't take the time to try as hard as what I should. And I think that the beauty of photography is it's repetition. If you're out there shooting constantly, you get better and better and better. So, yeah, even though there's that journey of missing time, I think that if I was able to push myself and have the time and capacity to shoot once a week or every day for 10 minutes or whatever it is, your senses get sharper, your eye gets sharper, and your technique gets better. Yeah, as I move forward, that's probably a bit of a goal, is just to shoot more and invest into it more. And I don't mean invest as in money, invest in that precious thing that is time to get better.
Yeah, no, totally. But the thing is, we've got everything there. You've got the warmth. You can see your personality in your shots. It's all positive. There's not doom and gloom. You can stay comfortable on your work, mate.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with doom and gloom. Every now and then I go dark, and again, that fires up the creativity in you of feeling different emotions through whatever your art form is, whether it is photography or music or painting, or it's all of those different shades that make up a person's life and personality comes through your art. It's what's in your head that comes out. So yeah, I don't mind every now and then getting dark with my photography. And, there's a lot that I don't post because, the only form that I use is Instagram to put it out there. And it's almost like if you go too deep or do something that's overtly artistic in inverted quotation marks, people don't resonate and gel with it. People love a good sunset, Rob, or something pretty sometimes that kind of shits me because there's nothing, I love a good sunrise and I'm an early riser and there's nothing better than sitting before and watching the sun come up. But, that I'd rather see myself as a storyteller or an artist than someone that takes pretty sunset or sunrise shots, I should say.
Well, maybe that's something to try. Maybe just mix it up. Just do what you like.
Yeah. And I think that in any art form, you have to create interest for yourself. If you're doing the same thing over and over, it just gets boring. So yeah, if there's any period of time through my feed or other people's feeds that you can see that they go through different waves of energy or emotion or subject matter, that, I'll get people follow me for a bit that they think I'm a landscape photographer, and then I'll switch to doing street photography, and you'll see that your followers will drop significantly because they're not into that. But I don't really give a shit about it. It's once upon a time it was about, who was enjoying your art and commenting or the number of followers that you get. But ultimately, art's about what pleases you and what motivates you. And if that resonates with other people, that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Stuff the algorithm.
Yeah, too right. So, tricky part now, your favourite photos. Why you like?
It's impossible. It really is, isn't it, to do that? But I'd almost cluster it that as far as that evolution from an artistic perspective, there's a photo that I've got that's of a famous photo booth in Melbourne on Flinders Street. And it was the first time that I learnt the power of suggestion through photography, of not having to have everything in frame, and story comes through, the small fleeting details. So when I took that photo, it shows the curtain of the photo booth with a couple of legs sitting in there getting their photo taken, and someone in a very striking outfit walking past them. And that was the first time I went, there's a story behind that image. What does it mean? It could mean so many things to different people. So that really probably drew me back into photography and the power of storytelling. The next one would be, it's probably a series of shots here in Ballarat where I live at the moment. There's a brutalist piece of architecture, which is it's just a crappy old multi-story car park building. And I'm the most impatient person that you'll ever meet. My family and friends listening to this will be nodding their head and smiling that I've got no patience for anything. And I don't fish from a photography perspective. If something's not happening within 2 seconds, I'm moving on. But this one building, as the seasons change, the light hits it in such a different way, and it casts such a great shadow off the boxes of the words that say down the side of the building, park. And as the light moves through the seasons, the shadows on it are incredible. So it's effectively the first time I really learned the power of patience in photography and having a vision for something and just persisting with it. And just around the corner from that building is another beautiful laneway in Ballarat that's got a canopy over a doorway of an old building, and I treated it the same way. That it was on the opposite side of that car park building, but the light that would strike it was so beautiful. So not only did it teach me the importance of patience in photography, but it also taught me the power of painting with light and what light can do when it's just skimming a surface and the texture that it provides. So again, similar to the first time, that really motivated me to want to go out and shoot more. And then probably the third one is when I was in Warrnambool, and a lot of them were just iPhone photographs, and I call them the call of the void shots, which were just sunrise shots out over the vastness of the ocean. And there's just something around the call of the void it's a term of where you want to just launch out into the openness and the endless possibilities and the expansion of space and time. So it's more not necessarily the photographs are great. It's the feeling that it gives me around the blank canvas of the world, the blue sky, the green fields there's just so much that's open and you can create so much in your life. So it's probably more the feeling that those photos of, most people look at it, Rob, and go, it's just a shit photograph of nothing with the sun rising. But for me, it just gives a sense of life has got endless possibilities and you can just sit on your ass and look at it, or you can actually do something about it. So yeah, completely different to the first two because it's not that inspiring from a photography perspective. It's more about the feeling that it gives me about just launching, the ability to launch out into the universe and create whatever you want in your head or in the real world is what I'm drawn to.
Yeah, brilliant. It's creating that moment, sharing that moment as well.
Yeah, there's moments everywhere. A moment is a moment. Every second in time, there's something interesting happening. And it might only be interesting to you, but if it's interesting to you, it's got to be interesting to at least one other person in this universe as well. So click it, share it, get it out there is what it's about. Create a conversation around it.
Perfect. Brilliant. So what advice would you give a new photographer?
If I reflected on my journey, it would probably be, again, in this day and age of social media and where most people will put their imagery is through a social media platform, is don't get caught up in comparison, because if you're starting out in photography, you're not going to be great. So if I've seen too many people through Instagram, Rob, that have got the genesis of a really great eye and you see them last for 5 minutes. And that's because, they're trying to compete with the algorithm and the number of, I'm not getting any likes, I'm just going to give this stuff up. So if you're comparing yourself to others, it's just so degrading on your own mental health, I think. It's great to be looking at what other people do from an inspiration perspective, but the second you start to compare yourself to others, you're doing yourself a disservice. So have compassion for yourself and tolerance and patience for where you're actually at. But when you're actually out shooting, the advice would be early, it's composition, learn composition, because that's where you find the detail in life. And once you get good at that, then, start working the exposure triangle. And, now I only shoot purely in manual. I don't use any other priority mode, but shooting in manual. But I was only able to do that after I learnt the power of composition. And then, shooting in manual, you get quicker when you see an opportunity to flick your shutter speed or your aperture or your ISO, whatever it actually is. So, don't compare yourself to others. Learn composition and then get to the technical detail of, how does the exposure triangle work?
Yeah, perfect. And I think COVID helped as well, because that was a lot of practice time within COVID.
Yeah, but when you didn't have a camera in COVID and you're only using your iPhone, there was only so much that you could do from that perspective.
Yeah, fair point.
But it's the keen eye. It's training your eye to see the detail that no one else sees. Don't shoot at eye level. That's where everybody looks from. Change your perspective on stuff. Learn how to frame. It's all those things.
Yeah, absolutely perfect. So what you got coming up? What's your photography goal?
Just to actually shoot more. I don't think I've picked up a camera in about a month, Rob, and I think that's, life can get in the way of your art and of your passions. So for me, short term, it's just about, I've gone through some life changes and moved house and a few other bits and bobs. So to me, it's the short term goal is just to pick up a camera and shoot more. But the main one and the thing that I've never, ever done, not once, I've never printed one of my own photographs. and even all the houses that I've lived in are devoid of artwork on the wall. So I think a goal of mine is probably to start to be a bit more selective around, or recognising, selective probably isn't the right word, recognising that some of my photographs are good and maybe you should actually print them and put them on the walls so you can actually be inspired by. I do have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing, or a little bit of talent, and it also showcases what you do to family or friends that visit you that aren't on the social media platforms. Shoot more and maybe print, Rob, would probably be my short-term goals.
Yeah, brilliant. And the thing is, go with your gut and you choose what you like. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's nice to put a face to, your profile.
Face to the profile, yeah. Well, it's not a very good-looking face, mate. So let's let the photographs do the talking.
It's fine. Nobody will see your face. You can stay anonymous. It's not a problem. Absolutely fine. But you've got a decent face.
Thanks, mate. We really appreciate it. I'll take any compliment I can get, Rob.
Well, thanks for being my guest. I do appreciate you being here. And, it's nice to actually meet you.
No, really appreciate you, Rob, and appreciate what you do for the photographic community of getting people's names and faces out there, that you're a gem in the photographic community. So, yeah, appreciate what you do and really appreciate the time to catch up today and have a yak.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate that as well. I just love it. So it's easy for me, but yeah, appreciate it.
No, all good. Thanks, Rob.
All right, take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye.